next on stage Dr. Max Geerling, who is the Executive Advisor to the Dutch Payments Association.
Yes, I am.
You have 15 minutes, sir.
And it's already running. Whoa. Okay. Thank you very much for the introduction and good morning. My presentation focuses a little bit around a smaller topic of conversion in payments. Because I think that's what all merchants look for. Conversion is the key driver for the decisions whether or not to accept a certain payment method. Just as a warming up slide, this presentation will take you along some points where mobile is very important. So I think mobile is the live remote control. We have it in our hands the whole day for all sorts of things that we're doing in our everyday lives. Of course, it is the enabler for omnichannel commerce in physical stores and online. This story is also about the paradigm shift we're seeing. We first had the paradigm shift to mobile first. We now see a shift to API first. Have ecosystems where market participants can build their own apps built on API infrastructures. And of course, I cannot avoid that, the challenges and opportunities from PSD2. The structure of this presentation will be one of diving into more details. And I hope to come to a conclusion where I can tell you about the essentials of conversion and what has to be solved to really make use of what PSD2 will give us with the access to the account, rules and regulations, and the API infrastructures that now come from that. And of course, I cannot start a talk like this to tell you something about the current situation with iDeal. It is a success in the Netherlands. You hear it every day on conferences like these. Just some figures. We did 380 million transactions last year, but what is more important is that we see an acceleration in the growth. Very, well, not so surprising, but to some of you may be surprising. A growth of 39% from 2016 to 2017. It is already the dominant payment method in the Netherlands for years, over 50% market share. We saw an increase in the use of mobile phones. Lots of reasons for that. It mainly has to do with the fact that all banks in the Netherlands now have a mobile banking app which allows you to authorize your payment, your iDeal payments on the mobile phone. Even if you're sitting behind a desktop, they present a QR code, you take over the payment on your mobile phone and authorize it on the mobile phone. So that's one of the reasons why this mobile use has increased so much. Although still a Dutch payment method from a consumer point of view, it is currently accepted all around the world. It was already accepted at AliExpress a few years ago, but last year now also Amazon joined in accepting iDeal payments. So recognizing this as the dominant payment method for a larger consumer base they have in the Netherlands already through their German side. However, and it's all too familiar to you, many changes ahead. From PSD2, access to the account, instant payments, new entrants, and increasing consumer expectations. So we all know that, and that's what we have to live with and to cope with and see where we can find benefits from. If we take a step back, this is referring back to the title of my presentation, what do merchants want? And first and foremost, they want conversion. Which translates into ease of use for consumers, if needed, a simple one-time sign-up, and of course a minimal risk of payment revocation. Because you can have conversion at the moment of sales, but if payments are being revoked or goods are returned, in the end the conversion is not what you want. Second, they want reach among relevant groups of consumers, and of course, as always, they want fair pricing. And the conclusion of this is that fragmentation is bad, because it's not good for your reach, but one size fits all is unrealistic, I think. given the very differences in consumer preferences. But what is realistic then? Well, I give you here a few examples of advanced needs we see with merchants in online commerce and physical retail. So in online commerce, we see two trends. One is what we call enriched checkout. We see merchants wanting to include qualified customer data in the payment flow. So they want to have name and address, delivery address in the payment flow. They want age verification. They want all sorts of customer data that they can use, but they want it to have qualified customer data from some banking administration or something. Merchants want in-app payments, and especially because they want to have extensive control over the UX they have with the payment. It's a lot of, and especially merchants from outside of the Netherlands, they say, with iDeal you have this redirect, and of course we have our figures, 90% conversion of iDeal payments, or 90% success rate of iDeal payments, but there are use cases where you need extensive or full control by the merchants over the payment flow, which is currently not possible with push payments. And in physical retail, it's quite simple. Whatever you think of, it has to compete with contactless cards. So you can think of any nice innovation, but if it doesn't add value to the current experience of contactless cards, tap and go, then well, you have good reasons to start your innovation there. Okay, one step further, deeper. We come to what access to the account is about. Some basics, we know this. Account holders have access to their bank account through internet and mobile banking, and this will be augmented with the access by account information service providers, payment initiation service providers. Some further terminology. Account holders have to use strong customer authentication to authorize their payments using credentials issued by their bank. And these third payment service providers have to identify themselves with certificates to the bank. And this was a key driver, one of the key drivers for banks to implement APIs on this interface. So that is already one result of this new legislation, is that banks are opening up their infrastructure through APIs. How can this be used for web payments? Well, then the PISP becomes a service provider for merchants. Strong customer authentication is running through the PISP, and payment confirmation is given back to the merchant. So this is how it would work for web payments then. But what do we, if you go back one slide, what do we need? This is what the regulation or the legal framework gives us, so what PSD2 and the RTSs give us. But what do you need else to make this a success? You need a brand. You need to make yourself known to merchants and consumers, what logo to click. You need some sort of admittance criteria. What merchants do, what do you need to show as a merchant to accept the payment, this payment brand? Merchants want an instant payment guarantee. Even with instant payments, 15 seconds, it's not, that's not fast enough for normal commerce situations. And you want to have it directly available in the commerce process, not somewhere in the financial administration department on the bank account. Uniformity of messages protocols is important to lower switching costs, and you need some integration with the underlying payment scheme. For push payments, that mostly is SCT or SCT Inst. So are these key success factors of the past, or is this the gap between PSD2 and the current APIs? Well, we think there is a crucial role for the strong customer authentication. So we're getting one step more deeper into the topic. Here you see the current list of SCA methods that banks are issuing to their clients. It's either one-time password or 10-based, through chip card readers, QR code scanners, text messages being sent, or they do that through mobile banking apps, where you can authorize payments with a fingerprint or static 5-digit pins. And for those of you familiar with the topic, you know that there are 3 ways of interaction currently being discussed in the industry: redirect, embedded, and decoupled. But what's important here is that they differ in the control of the UX for the various parts of the payment flow. That's the payment itself and the strong customer authentication. So with redirect, there is this thing that the payment is can be under control of the PISP, but the SCA is under control of the bank. And this is what most merchants are concerned about, because they lose control of the UX there. With embedded, that can be fully under control of the PISP, and with decoupled is a 2-phase approach where there is a UX for the payment, and there is a separate UX for the strong customer authentication. However, how does this work out on a mobile? Well, we see that there is different suitability. We'll not go into the details here, but for redirect there is no problem, but for embedded and decoupled it depends on what the mechanism is that the bank provides. So SCA is what I think a many-headed dragon still at the moment. We not fully know how this will work out, how this will influence the UX. And well, my conclusion is that it definitely takes 2 to do mobile SCA. As there are other things, there are more features in this whole payment system, ecosystem, with dual impact, and that's the payment confirmation and the risk parameters. Why? Well, first, as you know, with strong customer authentication, the SCA method and interaction model shall not create obstacles. That's what the RTSs demand. This is a responsibility of the ASPSP. Use of exemptions, determined by the ASPSP, but influencing the payment flow. Payment confirmation is the PISP must receive the same information as available to the payer, under control of the ASPSP, but important for the PISP. And then there's an article about risk parameters where it says that in the whole payment flow, all payment service providers involved must perform transaction monitoring. Well, the question then is, who is able to fully control the payment experience under PSD2? I don't know, but I have a suggestion here. What if SCA could be under control of a PISP plus? And what do I mean with the plus? The plus is an additional contract. An additional contract between the PISP and the ASPSP, where it could be used in the following way. You have a bank app already on your phone. There is a merchant making use of such a PISP plus. Do a one-time binding, make setting up a binding between the two and a PIN code. And then with the actual payments, there is an in-app payment being done with SCA on the merchant's PISP side, and a payment payment order sent to the bank. So, my concluding slide. I showed you that payment situations, commerce contexts diversify very much at the moment. There's diversification going on. But the mobile phone, I think, is the constant factor in the future. And the superstar of conversion. It's the device we have in our hands all day long. We're familiar with the device and the apps on it. I think access to the account, or basic access to the account, is not adequate for mobile in-app push payments. That's important, in-app push payments. But because even in the best situations, SCA is the bottleneck of conversion. Although an extended PISP role might be a solution when it obtains control of the SCA. But in the end, it's all about joint consent management. So it's consent of the account holder for the payment, and the joint aspect is the cooperation between the PISP and the ASPSP.
You're well on time.
Perfect timing.
Thank you, Max. Thank you very much. Thank you.